Welcome to Let's Be Real Sports Podcast, presented by Let's Be Real Media. Watch us live on YouTube and Twitter, and follow us on TikTok and Instagram at LBR_media. Also, subscribe to us on any podcasting platform.
What's going on? BLJ here, the best hype man in the NBA. Man, I'm here with Let's Be Real. Tune in. Hello.
Let's be real. We back. Let's Be Real Sports Podcast, episode 217. How is everybody doing?
Man, happy Sunday to y'all. Happy Sunday.
Football is back, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to have football from now until February. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Good to go.
I'm just happy I can show my face on this podcast.
Hey, we ain't talking basketball here.
We're not talking basketball.
Thank
God. Thank God for football.
Leave that real hard away.
Leave that at 3P8.
My man's began cyberbullied this week.
Yeah,
Man,
I put up for myself though, man. Hold on, though. I ain't going all the way down.
We don't need you getting the smoke. We need Jeans getting all the smoke from last week. That's what we need, getting all the smoke.
Bird had the mitigated gall to say the Danny Dimes fan club. I almost left the group me just off there.
We're giving him too much love already.
Don't
all seven of them. All seven of them.
But it's everybody. In case anybody's new tuning in, of course, it's your boy P Shark with the crew, Tail, Skylar, Trevor, and Sheedy back here again, starting 5, of course, on Let's Be Real Sports Podcast. Remember, follow us on Twitter or X, TikTok, IG, and Facebook at LBR_media. Subscribe and listen or watch on YouTube at Let's Be Real Media. Or if you prefer audio platforms, listen on any of the 11 different platforms we are on at Let's Be Real Sports. Also support us by signing up for our sponsor at BetStamp at signup.com/LBR. And here's the ad read for BetStamp. And once we return, we'll have our guests come in for the NFC South episode. Sports betting has rapidly risen in popularity, and I want to connect you all with the opportunity to get started or get ahead. Having multiple sportsbook accounts is the simplest way to maximize your profits, and there has never been a better time to sign up. When you visit our page, signupexpert.com/LBR, you'll be connected to all the sportsbooks in your region, along with a review of each platform and its unique benefits. All these sportsbooks have valuable sign-up offers for new users, and when you register through our link, you will automatically receive the top offer at each one. When you use multiple sportsbooks, you ensure that you can always access the best available odds, which is key to successful sports betting. If you want to take advantage of these benefits and support our brand, please consider signing up for your next sportsbook at signupexpert.com/LBR. All right, welcome back. We're back here again. I'll introduce our guests one at a time. First up, my brother, just met him this year at Black Sports Business Symposium. Been tight ever since then. My boy, writer for 3-Point Conversion and Substack writer, Danny Thompson. How you doing, my guy?
My guy, appreciate you having me on. I appreciate the phone call. I'm ready. Let's go.
So glad to get you in. Next up, returning guest. Y'all remember him coming in last year? The real host of The Real Deal with Damian Adams, New Orleans Saints fan, doing a whole bunch of stuff after Phoenix, Arizona, man. I know you're a writer. I can't remember the name of the platform, but you could introduce me. You say Damian Adams, man. What's going on?
Hey, man, thank you for having me. Really appreciate it. Always love to be a guest on Let's Be Real. And yes, the platform that you're talking about is called Burn City Sports. So if you're out here in the Phoenix area like me and Took, you can go ahead and check out Burn City Sports. We cover everything from the Suns, Cardinals, Coyotes, Phoenix Rising, Arizona State, everything Phoenix is covered by Burn City Sports, and I actually have a Suns podcast that's going to be coming soon through that platform as well.
Oh yeah, excellent.
Welcome,
Definitely
welcome.
check that one out.
Has to.
They'd be killing the game. All right, last guest, man. 2 category guessing back up. So we got another Panthers guy coming in. Aaron Duncan, man, host of Unnecessary Bluntness Sports Talk, or founder of Unnecessary Bluntness Sports Talk. How you doing, man?
What's good, man? I appreciate y'all having me, man. I'm honored to be in the building to represent the squad. You want some reinforcements, man? So I'm here to deliver. So I'm here to deliver.
Let the record be shown and known that Took was the only one that needed reinforcements to defend his team.
Hey, he called the right one, though. He called the right one.
No. You got to understand something, bro. When you get literally hated on Twitter for like a week, it's sometimes you just want to take a step back. You know your team gonna have success. You know your team gonna do what you said that they're gonna do. Sometimes you just need to have somebody else come up and like reassure that. So I'm gonna take a step back because I don't feel like trolling anybody. I'm gonna let my guy do what he do best. He's one of the best to do it.
I'm just glad you're not living in Memphis no more, man. We know you safe out there in Phoenix right now.
Because then my order Dixie Queen would have been all the way messed up.
If I don't know what we're talking about, check out 3 The Hardaway podcast, of course, part of Let's Be Real Media Network, as well as Gene's Reports. Although Gene's came on last week and trolled us about the Giants. Check out his show as well at the Gene's Report. But before we get started, let's check out some comments. I got Ryan Harris said, what it do, Ryan? Savage said these folks on the conference call, ain't it? You was on the conference call last week. Why you checking? We had 8 people on last week. Did Ryan agree? I tell you about folks, man. Be your own people. You got everybody. I know Zach can talk. Zach talked 30 minutes about the Patriots a month ago, bro. Nah,
Zach, you no.
We break a smoke back. And we got the Panthers people in, man. Panther Nation, man.
Come on, y'all. They know what's up. Stop playing. They know what's up. We here.
You came with the pounding. Okay.
Pounding, baby.
We tried to boost up the crowd rate.
Bro, Took reached out to all 6 Panther fans. He knew he was like, "Hey, bro, get on the podcast today."
I threw the bat signal on Twitter.
Oh, but
because everybody know what's up, man. Everybody trying to still pull on the bandwagon. Everybody see what's going on in Carolina. They trying to join the bandwagon again. You know what I'm saying? Because it's been dry since Cam left. They coming back, bro. It's all good. It's all good. It's cool.
It's still early.
Yeah, we'll see. But
get in while you can.
Let's go. I'll get this thing started while you talk about the Panthers. So, main entree, as we bring the guests on doing this divisional series, we're trying to, of course, just get information out to people who are not either A, paying attention, or 2, watching national media a lot. And national media ain't giving you nothing except about the Cowboys and, Patrick Mahomes, right? So learn about these other teams, the other 30 NFL teams that are out there. So we're trying to get information out there that everybody know what's going on with these teams, because all of us got our favorite teams. So we don't follow the other teams as much as we follow our favorite teams. So first up, Carolina Panthers.
I mean, it's been an off season of change, to put it lightly. You know what I'm saying? A real big change of the guard per se. We kept the GM Scott Fitterer, but I think all the Panthers fans are happy that we finally got rid of the second worst coach in the division. The worst is probably Dennis Allen, just to put that out there. But we got rid of Matt Rule and brought in a very experienced coaching staff: Frank Wright, Jim Caldwell, Thomas Brown, Sean Jefferson, Deuce Staley, Jerry Veros, real coveted in the game out here for head coaching ranks. It's just the owner opened up the checkbook. I mean, he opened up the checkbook, finally put the money where his mouth is. He was at one point one of the richest owners in the league. Obviously, the Waltons got involved and a couple other folks got involved too, but he put some bread down this year, and they were aggressive. This is something that hasn't been really done in Panthers franchise history, trading up to number 1. We had the number 1 pick before. Obviously, you guys know we had Cam Newton, but we earned that one fair and square. This year, we were aggressive. We traded up. It's been well documented, the compensation and stuff, and we picked Bryce. Everybody and their mama got something to say about his height. Most of those people that's talking trash, they probably about 5'8", 150-something pounds themselves. They can't throw a football like my man. Bryce Young, he can hoop. Let's just be real. And I think a lot of people are just scared of Bryce Young, man. Because if he turns out to be what I think he's going to be, he's going to break the mold of what everybody believes in. And people don't like being uncomfortable like that. So Bryce makes folks a little bit uncomfortable, but I just think he's real cerebral. He's an assassin out there, man. He just loves ball. It ain't nothing really else to go with it. He's as advertised. He talks about it. He sounds phenomenal in interviews, but he also does the stuff behind the scenes. They said they found no flaws in his game in the evaluation process. I think he's the perfect guy to lead us into the next stage of being this young, pretty young franchise in 27, 28 years. So, I mean, I'm a big Bryce guy. I'm real bullish on our team right now. We know how last season finished out with the division when everybody had a losing record. So I think there's better days ahead for the Panthers. They almost made that push last year, but I'm excited for what's to come. Obviously, there's no more preseason, no more offseason. It's time to get to it. So we're starting the season off with 2 division games, man. You can't have it any other way. You know what I'm saying? Don't get any better than that. So that's pretty much my high level summary of what happened this offseason.
Yep, definitely picked up some key pieces as well. When you talk about on the defense, we really didn't lose anything offensively outside of Dante Foreman. So if you look at that, we got kind of chemistry in that area as well. But we also added a bunch of defensive pieces that I'm excited about, especially Von Bell, a very underrated safety that allowed Jeremy Chin to be inside getting tackles, which is what he's pretty good at doing. So even without the defense, with Evero coming over and switching up some things, 2 years ago, we were literally a top 3 defense. We one of the worst offenses, but still top 3. Last year, we came bottom to like the bottom 20, 22, 23, something like that. Mm-hmm. But we experienced a lot of injuries as well, with J.C. Horn going down, Dante Jackson going down. This year, they're coming back. To my understanding, everybody's fully healthy. We got a better defensive coach, so expect the Panthers to have another top 5 defense, if not top 10. Then that may be stretching, but top 5 for sure. When you talk about our offensive lineman, I told y'all last year we're going to have a top 10 offensive lineman. What the Panthers have? Everybody talking about, oh, watch out for Bryce. He too small, He going to get protected. He going to take some hits because all quarterbacks do for sure, but he's going to be protected pretty good with another round of top 10 offensive line play, in my opinion. And also we got on some weapons. I think that will kind of be a concern with the weapons that we do have, because we don't have a quote unquote a receiver, but we do have some players that will catch the down ball, which is what I'm excited about. Take it away.
All right. Questions?
Sell me on your wide receiver room.
I mean, to be honest, you could be skeptical. It is what it is. It's going to be by committee. I mean, that's just kind of what it is. And I would like better receivers. I was a big advocate for getting D-Hop. It didn't happen. I was a big advocate of getting OBJ. It didn't happen. But Chark, the injury concerns are there, but he's fast. I mean, he's got speed. He's 6'4". I mean, he runs like a deer. Adam Thielen, he don't have the juice that he used to, but he's still crafty and shown in preseason they can still get open. Hayden Hurst he's going to give us more production for the tight end position than we had in probably 4 or 5 years since Greg Olsen retired. Not to mention Terrace Marshall, it has some upside as well. It's going to be very scheme dependent. I'm not going to lie. We're not going to line up and just out execute people. I like it. I like to compare it kind of to how Jacksonville approached last year. Everybody kind of like was rubbing, you know what I'm saying, like acting crazy because they went and got Christian Kirk to be their top guy, but they made things work. I mean, Doug Peterson's a very creative offensive play caller. Frank Wright, him and them cut from the same cloth, obviously, with that background there. So they're going to be very scheme dependent. You add that to a guy like Thomas Brown, who comes from that McVay tree with a very gimmicky type offense with a lot of motions, formations, shifts, and stuff like that, window dressing. It's going to be very scheme dependent. And I think Bryce is cerebral enough to be able to make that thing happen. His ball placement is pretty outstanding, to be honest. So when you have a guy that can pretty much is that accurate, and when you give him protection, it's going to have to go. It's going to be hand in hand. That protection and the receivers are going to be hand in hand. It's going to put a lot more pressure on the offensive line to protect, to give those guys time to get open. But I have confidence in Bryce Young's accuracy, and also have confidence in the scheme being able to get things open when it matters. But I don't expect anything less than people trying this with man coverage and low in the box until they prove they can do it otherwise. So I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you, say they're gonna blow everybody out the water, but they're gonna have to prove it.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of players I'm excited about. You brought up Hayden Hurst. We literally haven't had a legit tight end since Greg Olsen, so I'm happy you brought him up. A player I'm excited about is Laviska Shenault. A lot of people don't know about him, but last year when he did have the ball in his hands, he made some plays for us. So that's one player. Him and Terrence Marshall I call him Broken Rule. I call him Duncan. Broken Rule. I'm so happy we got that bullshit out of here. Get him out. Shenault and Hayden Hurst are two of the players that I'm definitely excited about. DJ Shark had 1,000 yards a couple years ago, but of course he got injured, so we just need him to be healthy. And of course, we don't have the best from Adam Thielen, but he will catch that damn ball, which is what we need.
Hey, got a quick question for you. I know we're not supposed to put too much into the preseason, right? But are you concerned about the lack of offensive production during this preseason?
Personally, not the production, but I'm big on the eye test. You know what I'm saying? Because you can feel certain things, you can see it, and like, does it look crisp? Are we just calling plays aimlessly? Is there a rhyme or reason for stuff? I went to every training camp practice. I saw what they were putting in. There was a bunch of stuff that we did do in training camp that we did not show. He talked about Laviska Shenault. There's a lot of things they did with Laviska that they just didn't show. Laviska's not a precise route runner. He's not going to route you up. He's not some technician. He's not going to Justin Jefferson, you know what I'm saying, give you at the top of the route. That's not him. So it's a lot of the stuff that he's going to be involved in is going to be very gimmicky, like I said, and just scheme dependent. So that's not something that you can show in preseason. So I'm not really concerned about that. What I really wanted to see was Bryce in the pocket, Bryce taking a hit, Bryce hanging in the pocket after taking hits, Bryce being able to deliver in the pocket while taking hits or after taking hits. And he passed all those tests. It's not going to be – we're not going – I mean, I would love for us to come out smoking off rip, but I bring it to last year. Like, it took some time to figure out the identity of the team. We had a coach. We got fired after 5 games. Steve Wilkes came in. We ran a bunch of screens against the Rams. Then we just said, F it. We're going to just turn around and hand the football off and do that and do that and do that because we don't have the quarterback. And we found our identity, almost turned into a playoff and division title. So it's going to take some time to figure things out, what we are with the guys we have and with Bryce. But unfortunately, we got 2 divisional games off the rip, so you don't have a ton of room for error. You would likely like to win some games while you're figuring things out. You know what I'm saying? But
hey, y'all can figure things out in week 3, you know, after y'all play on Monday night.
Hey, it's gonna be on Monday night. We gotta come through on week 2 at least. You know, everybody watching.
So here's my question. You know, you guys had some good. You had a good end of the season when it came to running the football. Foreman's gone, and you bring in Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders had 1 good year in Philadelphia. Tell me why Miles Sanders is the answer at running back in Carolina.
Well, he has the background with the coaching staff, obviously. Deuce Staley, one of the best assistant coaches.
About to say that.
This dude, he's one of my. I mean, just seeing him before he came to Carolina, seeing him on Hard Knocks with the Lions, I'm a big proponent of Deuce. But when it comes to Miles specifically, you're right. I mean, I'm skeptical of Miles too. I'm not gonna lie, because if you look at some of the numbers from the Eagles, they have one of the best offensive lines in the league. You know what I'm saying? Led one of the top teams in yards before contact, so they're doing half the work. They have a running quarterback with Jalen Hurts, so the defense has to respect that. Not to mention they have a bunch of weapons on the outside, so they can't stack the box. You're running against 6-7 man boxes, and you play the numbers game. You have an advantage off rip there, and our offensive line running blocking is probably their strength for the most part. So I would lean heavily towards being bullish with Miles there. But I think with more opportunity, he'll be just as productive. I don't think he's going to have a career year again, but I don't know how much we need that. We'll probably be by committee anyway. Frank Wright, a big committee guy. Deuce Staley, everywhere he's been, even going back to the Lions, a big committee guy with Swift and Williams last year. So it's going to be by committee regardless. Not to mention Foreman is probably going to get cut. That's what it sounds like. So they could run it back with him if they wanted to. I think he just wanted to kind of be the man, which is the reason why he left and went to Chicago. But they went and drafted a running back, and then they ended up doing some things with their backfield as well. So he's probably going to be on the outside looking in. So he could end up spinning the block and coming back. So I think it's going to be by committee regardless. That's kind of the main takeaway.
Yeah, so my question is I'm actually agreeing with mostly everybody. Like, their wide receiver group is not impressive at all. And granted, I'm actually a big fan of the quarterback, I just still think that there needs to be a number one receiver like in that group. So then with you striking out on D-Hop, with you striking out on OBJ, like who's another receiver that you are at least looking at, you're kind of monitoring to say, okay, maybe come trade deadline or maybe even like into the next offseason, like that's the number one receiver that I want.
It's got to be T. Higgins. I think that's what a lot of fans are looking at. Most of our fan base has a strong affinity towards Clemson Tigers anyway, but T. Higgins may be the odd man out. Joe Burrow about to get probably $250 million soon and very soon. We know Jamar Chase is a top 3 wide receiver, arguably the best depending on who you ask in the league. Not to mention they have another guy like Tyler Boyd. They just drafted a young guy, Andres Ilyasovas, whatever, from the Ivy League, who has had a good preseason. So that's kind of insurance for T. Higgins, who's maybe a $20 million, $25 million receiver. Who knows? Depending on what the cap does. So T. Higgins is that guy that if they decide to make that move, depending on how their season goes, depending on just where everything is, he's a guy to keep an eye on there. Outside of that, receivers every offseason, they get unhappy. The Tyreek Hill trade came out of nowhere. The Stephon Diggs trade came out of nowhere. AJ Brown trade kind of came out of nowhere as well. You just kind of got to be ready and have the assets and the cap space to be able to make that move when it's ready. And I think we have about $20 million in cap space before. Obviously, we got to sign Brian Burns and stuff. So I think we're kind of in that position, kind of monitoring, seeing what's going on, because I agree. I mean, we need some juice on the outside. And it don't even have to be anybody major. Like I said, D-Hop ain't what it used to be, but I think he would have been fine for what we need this year, especially with we got a bunch of complimentary receivers now. But who you complimenting? You know what I'm saying? Everybody can't be a complimentary wide receiver. So it's going to be, like I said, very scheme dependent. But like I said, Bryce's of accuracy and ball placement and the scheme is going to be pretty much what we're going to be heavily relying on.
I think the exciting thing is the fact that we're actually in literally all of these different plays we hear we could have signed. And I think, speaking as a Carolina Panthers fan, it's been a long time since we even been in the conversation. So the fact we even in the damn conversation, we good. But when you do look at some of the younger quarterbacks, whether it's Jay Herbo or Burrow, Mahomes, they do have that number one target. So I don't think Fitty is going to sit there and just have Bryce without a number one receiver for a long time. So it may not be this year, it may be next year, but I do expect something to come very soon.
I'm bullish on Mingo, FYI.
Stephon Diggs is who I will circle for real.
And to kind of piggyback off of Skyler's question, I think Sheedy, you got one. So I let you go. But kind of piggyback off Skyler's question. So John Domingo, where is y'all expectations for him? Because it don't sound like y'all think he will this year. I mean, he's a rookie, right? But do y'all foresee him potentially breaking out and becoming that guy either this year or next year, becoming like the go-to guy? Or have y'all not seen enough so far? I mean, he just started.
I think for me, it's kind of hard because it's so many other players in front of him, even in the depth chart. Like, we still think that Terrence Marshall can do something. You know what I'm saying? We still think Laviska Shenault can do something. So I think that in the future, and we got Steve Smith to help us with this pick. So I think Steve Smith and, other Panthers see something in him. But I think this year, I honestly can't give you a definitive he's going to do good, he's going to do bad, because, like I said, rookie quarterback plus of everybody else that we had of him before.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't really have the pedigree like some other rookie wide receivers that come in and make an instant impact. I would love for it to happen, and they kind of end of training camp was like joint practices. He showed me a lot. He had some times where he had some drops and stuff during camp, but like once the Jets came to town, he kind of just showed me something I hadn't seen the whole 2 weeks I was there. And then he's had a couple plays during preseason that have been okay, but it's going to take some time just based off experience. And he wasn't really heralded that big coming out of college either. Obviously there's Ole Miss has the whole lineage now, I guess, of being wide receiver but we'll see flashes. I'm just not sure how much we'll be able to depend on him to be wide receiver one. I think as the season goes on, he'll start to establish himself as a go-to target though.
And yeah, it was kind of basis of my question what you just said, because I'm a Titans fan. We had AJ Brown his rookie year. He was second round pick as well, and his rookie year was like great. So that's what. Yeah. And John Domingo body type, they kind of a little similar as well. So
yeah.
Sheedy. Can't hear you. Hey, volume went out the wrong time.
Damn it, Sheedy.
Because he was ready too.
Right.
He was ready.
It looked like he was ready.
He's so disappointed.
Oh man, I know he had a good question, man. Hate to have to move on.
But I'm high on Mingo though. I am high on Mingo though. I think he'll be all right. Just to button that up. I think he'll be all right. Now will he be that number one? Who knows? His performance this year will not deter me from wanting a number one wide receiver. I'll say that. It don't matter what. Well, granted, if he goes off miraculously, yeah, but there's not too much he can do for me to still want to look at a vet wide receiver, bona fide number one that we can bring in. I mean, we got a rookie quarterback on that contract. You got to open up the checkbook while you got it. You know what I'm saying? That window is what 4 years. You know what I'm saying? So let's do it. Let's do it. That's where I'm at.
Question. So how confident are you in Frank Reich getting the job done? I know y'all left. The rule's gone. So I know Panther fans are glad that he's gone. Are you guys happy that Reich was the pick, or would you have preferred somebody else other than Frank Reich? Because I've been hearing mixed ideas on the head coach out there.
You want to go ahead first?
You got it.
No, I mean, to be honest, I was a big proponent of Steve Wilkes. Obviously, I'm rooting for the black coach. He got done dirty in Arizona his little tenure. What he did to make I was at that last game before Matt Rule got fired against the 49ers. There was a lot of red in the stadium. It was a lot of booze. Man, you kind of had that feeling. It was a very low feeling. But he made Carolina football interesting in January for the first time since 2017. You know what I'm saying? That's 6 years. That's 6 years. You know what I'm saying? So like we actually had hope, which is weird. You know what I'm saying? And it was a different feeling. And I felt like with him picking up all the broken pieces of what was going on, from gutting the coaching staff to only having like 4 dudes on the defensive staff, to the point that you guys are spread thin, you hiring dudes off streets. We had corners so injured, we had to hire Josh Norman off the street. This dude, he was working at his barista, you know what I'm saying, in Atlanta at the time. We had to bring, that's how bad it got, but we were still on the doorstep of potentially making the playoffs. Had a couple things gone different in our secondary against the Bucks, we may win that game. You know what I'm saying? If we win that game, beat the Saints again like we did in the final game, we're going to the playoffs. Something I can say hasn't happened since 2017. So I was big on Wilkes. As far as Reich, I think the way they approached it, I thought they kind of did Wilkes dirty. But if you're going to do him like that, you had to do what you did and open up the checkbook. And it's not just Reich. If it was just Reich and his normal buddies, I'd be like, okay. But he went outside, he colored outside that coaching circle. He went and got a Jerry Vero, who was coveted for some interview for some head coaching positions. Thomas Brown from that McVay tree, he interviewed, I think, for the Tampa job, if I'm not mistaken, or he was about to, something like that. I don't know what he did a couple years ago, something like that. But you brought in a Jim Caldwell who wanted to interview for the head coaching position. He has that pedigree, that background with Flacco, Peyton Manning, Stafford, of course, and we know what he's done as far as Detroit going to the playoffs as well. So you have a buffet of experience, you know what I'm saying, behind him. So it's not just him that's doing it. So that kind of reassures me. I do have my skepticism on certain things, and it's just little day-to-day stuff. And I try not to get into that overanalyzing everything day-to-day, because that's kind of the trap we fell into with Matt Rule. But it was well-deserving because he was not a competent coach. But I'm trying not to overanalyze all the small stuff. It's what small stuff. But I'm confident in him until I'm not. That's how I am right now. I'm not skeptical like I was with Rule. I'm not a big guy on hiring college coaches. So, like I said, he's got my confidence and support till he doesn't.
I'm with you with literally everything you just said. Of course, I was team Wilkes for sure, because you definitely wanted a black man with the job in any job in NFL, to be honest with you, as far as coaching. I mean, he did a hell of a job. Like, I couldn't believe how hopeful I was. Like, oh shit, Carolina, we may make the playoffs next season. We may make the playoffs this season. And so even to be like a game or two away was still absolutely amazing. But if, like you said it, if we were to hire anybody, I'm happy as Frank Reich, because throughout the whole broken rule era, one thing that he successfully did was piss off the fan base, was alienate, former Panthers players. So not only do you hire a former Panther player, you literally hire the first quarterback to quarterback this team. And we, universe works in mysterious ways. His first home game was the Falcons. His first home game, coaching this year could be against the Falcons. He won in the past, and I'm pretty damn sure he's gonna win this time. But that's a whole nother different story for another day. But just bring it back to Panther Nation. You got, like I said, Steve Smith is my all-time favorite player of all time outside of Cam Newton. For him to come back into the organization and try to help us out is huge with us. For other players to come in is huge with us. But still, for Frank Wright, you got other quarterbacks who had success. And, let's say Carson Wentz, for example, he could have won Rookie of the Year and damn near MVP at the same time if he didn't get injured for the Eagles. That's debatable, but the numbers he was putting up was crazy. There are also other quarterbacks that we're excited to see. So if Frank Wright's there, if we didn't have Frank Wright, I don't think we would have had Bryce Young and all of the amazing coaching staff that we had. I'm just putting it like that. I think if we would have kept Wilkes, we would have kept everybody else he wanted. But we had our owner open up the pocketbook and said, hey, we're going to get out the best that's out there. And that's what we get. And now I think, like I said, we feel confident right now.
All right, Sheedy.
I didn't really want to talk, man. Fuck, you can hear me. All right.
Well,
Here's the question. Your current team has constructed Carolina Panthers because y'all been on the clock for 30 minutes and I don't understand it. But let me ask you this. What is one player from your team right now that you can see their jersey being retired someday for Carolina? You only got one retired so far, I think.
Yeah. David Tepper's pretty stingy about that, to be honest. They're gonna put a couple people in the Hall of Honor, but currently on the team, I mean, if you want me to be ambitious, I'll say Bryce Young, but I'll go with Brian Burns is gonna be a Panther lifer, in my opinion. Now, is he gonna be the best DN in franchise history? That's a tall task when you got a guy like Peppers who's waiting on that call for that yellow jacket, you know what I'm saying, soon and very soon. But I think he's going to be up there with the greats in Panthers franchise history. He wants to be, he's been here through what? This is third regime. He wants to be here. He's still has a lot of good football left ahead of him. About to get the bag soon. It's just a matter of time, to be honest. He's definitely, I think, on that trajectory. Whether they retire number 0 or 53, whatever they do, I think he's on that path to being one of them ones.
Shout out to Mr. T Money. He literally took the words out of my mouth. If it one Bryce and one Burns, is J.C. Horns, for the simple fact that he is a lockdown cornerback in this league when healthy. So chill. Ain't nobody brought up our defense yet. But cool,
man. Y'all defense it, and we ain't no questions about them.
Exactly. Come on,
y'all
man.
got a nice defense, and then you just added Jim Caldwell to the mix as well, who's a maestro defensively as well. Yeah, that wasn't a question.
All right, man. It's just for the Panthers. Good questions, everyone. Good explaining them. I think may sway some opinions. Next up, Atlanta Falcons. Danny.
Oh my goodness.
All right. So the Falcons last season was a tale of a bunch of different stories. They started the season 4-4. They were in first place. And then magically the wheels off the bus completely fell apart. Marcus Mariota decided to go on a Thursday night in Carolina, actually, of all places, and probably threw the worst interception. I just turned 40. Probably the worst interception of my entire lifespan. In that Carolina game where he decided to do a complete 360 on his knee. I don't know what you want to call it. At that moment, the season had fell apart. Mariota then leaves the team after getting benched. And then the Desmond Ridder era finally happens. Ridder goes 2-2 down the stretch. I actually went to the Baltimore game. As he went through his progression the last 4 games, you can tell he was more confident in the pocket. His plays started getting better. He started making better plays, making better decisions down the field. And we even beat Tampa to end the season. He was 2-2 as a starter. Those 4 games, his best receiver, Kyle Pitts, was nowhere to be found because he was hurt. Calvin Ridley was on PTO and somehow got suspended while on FMLA time. So he's gone. He's now in Jacksonville. The offseason was really one major thing because Lamar Jackson was sitting over the franchise's head the entire time. The previous offseason, Atlanta had chased after Deshaun Watson and was only beaten out between us and the Saints by some owner that decided giving him the largest contract in NFL history. That was fully guaranteed. It really was what it was. Atlanta had the opportunity to go do all over again, but against what Arthur Blank would have done, he decided to take the money and do something that he hasn't done since he's been in Atlanta and spend money on defense. Atlanta's defense has been literally the worst defense probably in collectively in the last 15 years in the NFL. The only time the Falcons have had a competitive defense is when we got to the NFC Championship game or the Super Bowl. Under Matt Ryan's tenure, Atlanta only had two top 20 defenses. Both of them ended up in either the NFC Championship game or in the Super Bowl. Outside of that, Atlanta's been in bottom 20. So what did they do? Carolina spent money on their side. So did Atlanta. The first thing they did was to get Jesse Bates from the Cincinnati Bengals. A huge piece of the secondary, a captain of the defense, a guy that's been to the Super Bowl, a guy that can help with a bunch of young Falcons back there. So what they do on the defensive line, one of the worst pass rushes in the NFL, they went and got Calais Campbell and Damian's former guy, David Orellana from the New Orleans Saints, to go help the pass rush to help Grady Jarrett. Well, they also went out and got Bud Dupree, and they also signed Ellis exactly from the New Orleans Saints. So former New Orleans Saints GM Terry Fontenot decided to go take from the old Mercedes and put it in the new Mercedes and take some of his former Saints with him to Atlanta. On the offensive side of the ball, Atlanta made the surprise selection of Bijan Robinson in the first round of the NFL draft. Now, Shark is he's a Titans fan. Head coach Arthur Smith does one thing and one thing well. His teams in Tennessee knew how to run the football. They were the best running teams in the NFL. So what do you do when Atlanta has a high power offense when it comes to running the football? You go get the best running back in the entire draft, and you go from there. They spent first-round picks on Drake London. They spent them on Kyle Pitts. But now they have a guy, Bijan Robinson, to go with the guy in Tyler Algier, who had almost 1,000 yards last season, to go on top of Cordell Patterson, who could be used in so many different ways and made the Pro Bowl 2 years ago, but was hurt last season. Atlanta has a dynamic offense that also brings in Jonnu Smith, a former Tennessee Titan, on top of bringing back their two best offensive linemen, re-signed in the offseason. And so now they put a team around second-year quarterback Desmond Ridder to say one of two things. It's his team now with a competent offense, way different than he had last season, and a make-or-break year. Atlanta didn't trade the draft picks. Atlanta didn't move up in the draft. And so this is Ridder's 1 year to shine. They brought in Tyler Heineke to be the backup. He's not even threatening the starting job. And Logan Woodside did really well in the preseason, so he's going to probably be the third quarterback. This is Ridder's year. Atlanta lives or dies with a quarterback in Desmond Ridder in an offense that's kind of similar to what he had in Cincinnati. His job isn't to win games. His job is to not make mistakes. And when he was at Cincinnati in college, what did he do? Not make mistakes. And what did he do at Cincinnati? He's the all-time winning quarterback, most winning quarterback in winning percentage in school history. So you give him that type of feel going into a division, like you said, with teams in transition. There's no more Tom Brady in the division. Carolina's with a brand new head coach. New Orleans has a lot of change in a lot of different areas. Atlanta has a chance to be better than 7-10. I'm not saying they're a 10-12 win team, but Atlanta has a chance to improve. And one or two breaks in the season from last year turns this from 7-10 into a wild card team last year, or a division winner last season. So there's a lot of things that happened in Atlanta, and there's a lot of exciting upside. They traded for Jeff Okudah in the offseason to help the secondary out. They've made changes all over and getting guys in who actually have competency playing football on top of the guys that Atlanta already has in AJ Terrell, Drake London. They have Kyle Pitts. Once these young kids get together with the veterans, Atlanta has a lot going for themselves. So the days of being bad might be close to being over in Atlanta. I'm not saying they're a Super Bowl team, but they have a chance to win a division that's very winnable.
All right, I kick off the questions. Desmond Ridder was compared to a certain quarterback in Tennessee, Ryan Tannehill, when coming to the draft. Can he simply beat Ryan Tannehill this season? Honestly, they'll probably keep his job if he's simply that play action quarterback that doesn't turn the ball over and just manages the game. So can he beat Ryan Tannehill this season?
The difference between Desmond Ridder and Ryan Tannehill is one thing. Ryan Tannehill has a cannon for an arm. Like, Ryan Tannehill can throw the ball down the field. But Desmond Ridder is more accurate than Ryan Tannehill. So if you go back to the Tennessee tapes, those times where Titans fans know that Ryan Tannehill missed the open pass because he can't throw, he's not very accurate, Ridder will hit those passes. But the one thing I worry about Ridder is that Ridder doesn't go very well over the top. That's why Atlanta went out and got a whole basketball team full of wide receivers. Like, their receiving core is all tall. Mac Hollins is 6'3", Drake London is 6'4", Kyle Pitts is 6'3". They have basically a starting front line or a starting backcourt at the receiving court. So if you're throwing a lot more 50-50 balls, Atlanta has a good chance of getting those with those tall types of receivers. So to answer your question, they're very similar, but they also have the differences as well too.
All right, so you mentioned Kyle Pitts. So far in his career, hasn't really lived up to his high pick. Not his fault, but hasn't lived up to that high pick. Is this the year that we see Kyle Pitts blow up and be the guy that we all thought he was going to be?
Good question.
That's a $64 question every fantasy football owner wants to know because their drafts are all this week. And Kyle Pitts is literally considered right after Mark Andrews, George Kittle, and some guy who cut off his beard in Kansas City. Kyle Pitts has every bit of talent in the world. Now, Arthur Smith's job with Desmond Ridder is to get him in space because he's a matchup nightmare. So you can see him now in the two tight end sets with Jonnu Smith being in the offense, them splitting him out wide, them putting him in the slot. I think Pitts will be all over the place. I think you'll see more of year one Kyle Pitts more than year two Kyle Pitts, where Kyle Pitts made the Pro Bowl as a rookie. So I do think he does hit 1,000 yards this year. I think I trust Kyle Pitts as a receiver more than I trust Drake London. No offense to Drake London, but Pitts his speed, his size, and the fact that he's playing tight end will be a difference maker compared to London, who's going to be on the outside, who's really more of a possession receiver at 6'3.5", 6'4". Are there any worries about the Falcons? Okay, so Mac Hollins, right? So here's why I have my problem concerned with. All right, Mac Hollins he was solid in Las Vegas last year. But as a number 2, that does scare me. But Atlanta went out and got Jonnu Smith, who's a very, very good. He's a better hands tight end than, he's one of the better hands tight ends in the league. And so when you have an offense that uses a lot of play action, uses a lot of double tight ends, when you have those sets, Mac Hollins' job is to hold on to the football, make first downs, and occasionally use his size to go over the top when needed to. And as far as Jeff Okudah, I'm happy with Jeff Okudah. He was a top 5 pick for a reason. Some situations, and when we all watch enough sports, doesn't matter what sport it is, when you get drafted as high as he did, sometimes the situation might not be the best thing for you. It just might be it might be a change of pace. He might just need a new environment, new coaches, new atmosphere, new everything else. So I'm okay with Jeff Okudah. What we gave up for him, I think, was a 4th-round draft pick. So I think once he gets healthy, there's a couple of rookies out there we have on the team. So I think Phillips came in, who's played really well in the slot in the preseason. So I think Atlanta has a lot of talent over there. I think Okudah will be just fine.
My question is, if I can be selfish, because we got to do these picks in about 20 minutes, confidence level in your Atlanta Falcons winning the division.
I give it an 8 out of 10. I'm extremely confident in Atlanta because the one thing a rookie has, there's 2 things a rookie needs to win a division as a rookie quarterback. You need to have a safety valve and you need to have a running game. Atlanta has both. Atlanta has 2 tight ends that can catch the ball, one that can actually get downfield, one that can make the catch, and they have 3 running backs. They have the best trio of running backs in the division. That's it. All Desmond has to do is throw the ball 15 to 18 times a game, compete 12 to 15, don't turn the ball over, let Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, and Cordell Patterson run for close to 26, 2,700 yards, play ball control, and keep the defense off the field. That's pretty doable in this division. It's very doable.
Man, let me tell you like this, Doc. What I see for Atlanta is the same thing that happened with us. It's the same thing that happened. See what I just did there? We had the same record ended last year, but y'all gonna be figuring out, damn, how can I get the 1st round pick of the NFL draft so I can get me a legit quarterback? Because you talking all this Desmond Ridder BS, right? And I'm looking at him actually play the 4 games. For one, he only scored a touchdown, scored 2 against a Buccaneers team that didn't play his starters. That's number 1. But number 2, of course, he beat them, but he also beat a Cardinals team who was just damn sorry. The other 2 games he played, he was in. He didn't even score a touchdown. So for you to have all the confidence in the world for your Falcons, shout out to you. How much confidence do you have in Desmond Ridder starting next year? How about that? Let me go with that. Going into training camp next season, how much confident are you in Desmond Ridder being the starting quarterback next season for the Atlanta Falcons?
I can't speak on something that happens in January, but what I can speak on is y'all beat us 3 times since 2016. I don't think you can say anything to me now.
Cool. And we still, I mean, cool. We still gonna have the same record. We still had the same record, did we not? The year before, did we have a better record? I mean,
some very fortunate events happened last year that prevented that sweep. Let's keep it a buck. Let's keep it a buck. But I got a real question that nobody's talking about.
Okay, let's have a real question.
I got a real question. The bag got opened up on defense in a lot of places. I respect that, but nobody opened up the bag. This is the NFL. Like Anyamata, cool. Grady Jarrett, cool. Calais Campbell, cool. Who do y'all have coming off the edges? If you can't rush the passer coming off the edge, it don't matter. There's no. I don't have any. You name Bud Dupree. Cool.
If he plays,
4 sacks.
If he plays,
4 sacks.
I'll be honest with you, Bud Dupree ain't been ish since he left Pittsburgh.
They drafted.
And I agree.
Harrison.
And I agree.
It was fine when he was fine in Tennessee when he played. It just.
I think that
that
first.
No, and you know what though? You know, I 1000% agree. Like I'm not confident in the pass rush. Oh, I've been confident in the pass rush since the year we had my guy with 15 sacks. We got to the Super Bowl, Vic Beasley, and I think he had like 1.5 sacks ever since that 16 sack season. One thing I can say is
he's an XFL.
Yeah, exactly. One thing I can say is Ibikide, the second year guy from Penn State. They have Carter. They brought Bud Dupree. I think also when you bring in guys like Calais Campbell, you bring in Omoyata for the Saints, you bring in guys that if they even get 4 or 5 sacks, over time that adds up. Atlanta only had, I think, 22 sacks last season. So if each of those guys get about 5 sacks, that's more than the total Atlanta had last year. So it's always improvement. I'm not saying Atlanta's going to be able to get the numbers of Philadelphia where they had 70 sacks in the season. Those are the things that, you know, Atlanta is all about improvement. As long as Atlanta is not in the bottom 20 in defenses, that's an improvement over last year. Carolina has a defense. We're not going to lie. Carolina has the best defense in the division. Hands down. I'm not going to argue against that. I'm not going to argue with Carolina has.
Stop looking at that, D. Stop looking like that.
I'm not.
Number one defense the second half of last season was the Saints. Number one defense second half of last season.
Isn't half your guys in Atlanta right now? Half your defense is Atlanta right now.
The guys we let go is the guys we could let go because we had the number one defense second half of last season.
The pay players because you didn't have a salary cap. Because how many times have y'all
First of all, the reason that people believe the cap is because of the Saints. We make things work when it comes to salary cap.
How many times have you Cam Jordan?
That's why it's an LBR commandment now.
Yo, how many times you gonna make Cam Jordan give up guaranteed money so y'all can stay under the salary cap?
Hey, that man is a Saint for life because of that. We appreciate him, and he's somebody that's going to be on that. You mentioned like the Wall of Fame and all that stuff. Because of his great play, he's going to be a Hall of Famer and the Saints great forever, and he helped us keep this great defense together.
Y'all probably paying him under the table. But I think
I don't care what kind of secondary you guys. You ain't got no pass rush, brother. Nobody can play defense in this league forever. You know what I'm saying? You got to be able to get home.
Like I said, it's all about controlling the ball, using the running game, keeping the defense off the field. That's really what it is. Atlanta has a running game where they can keep the ball 30 to 40 minutes a game offense. Robinson can run between tackles. Robinson can run past you. That's really what it is. It's ball control. Arthur Smith's team is all about ball control this year. Atlanta's not really. And guess what? We still had the same record y'all did. What was y'all excuse?
No. You talking about all this upside, but y'all did the same thing last year. I vividly remember. I live in Atlanta. I'm on the 4-Stop radio tip.
So
we can talk bigger picture, but let's talk about the weeds because y'all. I vividly remember callers calling in because I live down here in Atlanta, so I hear the Sports Talk radio about people complaining about y'all being down multiple scores in the game and still running the ball because y'all had no confidence in the defense, no confidence in the passing game, no confidence in the quarterback. The running game is cool, but the running game is a good offense is a great defense, whatever. But if you're down multiple scores and you can't throw the ball down the field because you have to rely on your running game that much, or you don't trust your quarterback, or you're trying to protect your defense that much, that's a problem. So saying that ball control, y'all been on that tip. This is Arthur Smith. Somebody said in the comment, wishbone.
It's funny. But Atlanta plays in a division where the Saints receivers can't stay healthy. Tampa has Baker Mayfield at quarterback. Okay, who y'all ran off last year. Y'all ran Baker to Tampa. And your receivers.
The fact that he was on our team and we still got the same record is you helping us, actually.
Once again, 3 wins since 2016. I think you should be zipped at this point. Atlanta has won 6 games since my daughter has been born, and my daughter is. Boy,
y'all finna run that rookie to the ground and not pay him in 3 years. That's exactly what y'all finna do with Bijan Robinson. Come on,
so see, one thing Carolina has residency is the fact that your mascot's good and he's known as a bear. That's what you. That's the only thing Carolina.
At least we got a mascot.
We got one too.
Y'all can't even pay for a person to put somebody in a mascot. What are they gonna do? Just fly around? Come on, dog. Bird, man.
Let's go back to business. Let's go back to business here. But I think the one thing Atlanta has, right? It is ball control. It is defense. In a division where I don't feel like a lot of the teams are high powered. The only offense I'm really concerned with that's high powered might be New Orleans. And that's only when Alvin Kamara gets back after suspension. And I just really want to see how David Carr works with that offense. I'm not totally surprised and worried about Carolina. Baker Mayfield's going to make enough mistakes at the wrong times of the game to find Mike Evans or find Chris Godwin. I'm not worried about that. It's really all about the Saints and then everybody else in the division. And like I said, I hate the Saints more than y'all two did. But I'm down the middle and being completely honest. If Atlanta controls the ball, Atlanta gets up in games, they're going to run the ball down people's throats. Atlanta's not built to score 30 points a game. This is not a 30-point-a-game offense. If we got a high draft pick next year and went and got one of those receivers, I'm okay with that. That's a different story. We're not built to score 30 points a game. We're built to win games 20-17. And if it gets down to it, Atlanta's kicker is the best in the division. Who is the best kicker in the division? So if it comes down to a point where Atlanta has to hit field goals, I trust my kicker more than anybody else in the division. So we're one of those teams that's going to win 20-17, 23-20.
He got one of the best names in the world, so I trust him too.
What if it comes down to your defense needing to get a stop, but you ain't got no pass rush in the fourth quarter?
Hell, It
happens in close games too.
Listen, I'll do the same thing I do for the last 16 years as a Falcons fan. I just pray. That's all I do at that point. I'm honest.
Yeah.
I'm a realistic Falcons fan, but I'm also a journalist at the same time. So I'm a Falcons fan, but at the same time, also realistic. It is what it is. If it comes down to it, I would rather have the ball in our hands than put it in the hands of defense. But the good thing with the defense is it's a lot better than it was last year. We do have more guys that can actually get to the quarterback. Now, will they get to the quarterback all the time? Sometimes you just need to make 1 or 2 plays. Atlanta has more playmakers than they've had the last couple of years. Like I said, as long as the defense gets
No, you lost Danny.
Nah, you froze up on us.
Just like the season last season. We're about to talk about the Saints now. Jesus Christ. We are over here talking about some under 500 teams.
The whole division won 500.
The whole division going to 500.
That's my point. That's my point. You won't write it. That's my point.
You better be lucky. I actually got y'all winning the first last song.
Everybody can have the division 500 on the team.
Like that ain't cool.
Because none of these offenses score more than 20 every week. So what are we going here?
Let's go to the next slide.
Hey, Daddy, before we move forward, or I don't want to lose this question from the comments that Ryan asked. Now I'm trying to find it now. I had it before Sheedy started talking over us. Here we go. Well, Ryan asked, will Arthur Smith be fired if the Falcons don't have a winning season?
I think it's about improvement. I think it really is. I think if Atlanta improves, I think if they go backwards and this thing goes left real quick, yeah, the seat is going to burn in Atlanta. Just like a hot summer day in March, it's going to be terribly and blissful down there if this thing goes left quickly. But I think as long as there is improvement, unless Ritter is completely trash, I think Smith does keep his job. Like I said, this was a rebuilding project. This was not something that was going to happen overnight. Atlanta had to rebuild. After the Matt Ryan era, they had to rebuild their entire team. The Matt Ryan's Julio Jones era is gone. So that's really is. And I do believe Atlanta's offensive line is solid enough. They made a lot of adjustments. They brought back guys that we've had. Atlanta's running game was really good last year anyway, so it can only get better from here.
And I got a fantasy question for Tyler Algier had over 1,000 yards last year, and y'all still went and drafted a running back. So as a person who may be considering drafting Tyler Algier, do you expect him to get enough carries to warrant drafting him, or Bijan Robinson is going to be pretty much the bell cow?
I think Robinson's going to get a lot of carries. He's going to get his carries, but the one thing Arthur Smith won't do is he won't wear down Bijan Robinson by giving him 25 to 30 carries a game to start the season. I think it's one of those things where Robinson gets about maybe 17 to 20 touches. Algier will probably get about 14 to 16. And into the first part of the season, then when Cordell Patterson returns, it'll be a little bit different. So, I think Algier is a solid guy, but you might want to take him probably about the 7th or 8th round, depending on what your running back situation looks like.
Street saying that Cordell Patterson getting cut or traded.
Nah. Even though Godwin had a really, really good preseason, the fact that Patterson is too dangerous and too needed on the return game, he's still one of the best kick returners in the game. So no.
I don't see no touches for Kyle Pitts. So I don't see nothing.
Kyle Pitts is going in the first 2 or 3 rounds. I told you. I said Pitts is
as a person who had Kyle Pitts on his fantasy team, I was highly disappointed. But yeah, I hope it's. I'm hoping better days are coming for Kyle.
It will.
Any more questions? All right. Let's moving on to New Orleans. How about them Saints?
All right, so for Sheedy, I'm gonna keep it brief. So last season was a season of transition for us, right? You had those times in your life where you kind of lose who you are. You got to remind yourself, this is who I am. That's what kind of our season was last year. We kind of lost who he was. And because of that, I lost a bet to Tuke and had to pay for his lunch last year. I plan on getting that back this year for sure. With the Saints. Then the offseason, we addressed that because we knew our offense was trash last year, just point blank, period, trash. And our defense was really good, especially the second half of last season. I mentioned earlier that we were the number 1 ranked defense. I believe from week 9 on, we were the number 1 ranked defense in the NFL. And we were not able to take advantage of that because our offense just had no juice at all, just stuck in the mud with Andy Dalton. And because we had Andy Dalton, our running game was stuck in the mud because of it. Just everything didn't work out because of that. So because of that, we went out and got Derek Carr. We also got a kid in the draft, Kendre Miller, who's going to help us in transition while Alvin Kamara's out during those first 3 games. So I'm actually not too worried about that. It may be a blessing in disguise that Alvin Kamara is going to be out those first 3 games, because once he comes back, it's going to be fresher to end the season. So actually not too mad about that. And for our defensive line, somebody mentioned in the comments that we don't have somebody opposite of Cam Jordan. We have Carl Granderson right now starting opposite of Cam Jordan. He's a veteran who had 5 sacks last year. I believe he got an even bigger year this year, having more reps. We have a rookie in Breesy, who got out of Clemson, who people are comparing to a young Chris Jones. Not my words, coming from camp. People are comparing him to a young Chris Jones. So if he comes in and has a big impact, our defensive line will be very, very good to go along with our all-pros in Demario Davis, who's still one of the best linebackers in the league, Marshawn Lattimore, Tyrann Mathieu, who looked really good the second half of last season. So with the addition of Derek Carr, going with this offense, Michael Thomas, hopefully, finally, I'm praying, fingers crossed, that he's finally healthy. He looks really good.
Slant man. You remember Slant man? Slant man.
He ain't been Slant man in about 5 years, man.
Welcome back, Slant man.
The slant boy insult is so funny to me because the man got the most catches in NFL history just running slants. Nobody. He was running just slants. Nobody stopped him. Like, come on, let's be for real. So Michael Thomas, if he's healthy, it's gonna be crazy for this offense. Even if he's not, though, Chris Olave and the other wide receivers that we have, Traquan Smith, like this offense is going to be good. So I believe that we're going to be a very, very good team this year with our defense and the additions that we made on offense. Michael Thomas, I'm hoping and praying he stays healthy, but if not, I still believe in this offense. So I think we're going to have a really good year coming up this year with the additions that we made. And Dennis Allen mentioned earlier that someone said he may be the worst coach in the division. That's one thing that I'm not going to be, I can't really argue against. I can't really make an argument against that. But I do believe with his second year now being in the head coaching spot, he's got the experience from last year of making mistakes. He made a lot of mistakes last year. You mentioned the game against Tampa Bay on Monday Night Football where we had them just done in the mud and we let them off the hook. I think those mistakes will be gone this year just based on that experience. So who that said they're going to beat them Saints. The Saints get back to being who they are, and that's the Kings of the South. That's what we get back to being this
year. They coming.
Hey, out the pocket.
Hey, cuz what is going on in these comments, bro?
These comments are going in right now. Hey, I appreciate it, bro.
Yo, I forgot my question.
Like what?
Let me get back. Dennis Allen. How much do you blame last year's offense? Y'all offense. How much do you get to blame out to him versus the personnel, and how much do you think it's going to improve this year with y'all personnel getting better?
I would give 65% of the blame to Dennis Allen. Our offense, not only like personnel definitely had a lot to do with it, but also it was just a lack of creativity, right? Like a lot of times the offense was just, you could tell what was coming a mile away. I'm, watching at home saying, oh, here come a run up the middle, or here come the screen. Like you could tell exactly what was coming last year. So him, our offensive coordinator, Pete Carmichael, they both need to improve their game. So I would give 65 to 70% of the blame to them.
Yeah, I'm actually a big Derek Carr fan. The fellas will tell you I actually had him going MVP at one point in time. But last season, he literally had his statistically worst season since his rookie season. So I want to ask you, even though this is a new team, are you expecting better or worse from last season?
Oh, way better. I think he was in a horrible situation with a coach who didn't really want him. The coach, for some reason, believes that Jimmy G is a better answer. Like, I think that gives you enough information on what situation he was in. The fact that the coach is like, oh, we're going to go Jimmy G now. We're going to be much better now. Like, really? So I think he's going to be much better now in this situation with a real offensive line. And for the first time in his career, an above average defense to play along with. He's never had that. Never. So I think that's going to be a big part of why he plays better.
Yeah, I saw some right before you go. I saw something Oakland or Raiders. So I guess he did play with Oakland at one point before they went to Vegas. They never had a defense ranked higher than 19th. What's that?
No, never ranked higher than 19th during his time there.
Dang.
Well, Aaron, you gotta go.
Yo, Damian, you mentioned Brian Breezy. You mentioned Brian Breezy.
Aaron had a question first.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I just had a quick one. I was gonna say, how much of a side eye are the players giving John Gruden for the Saints trying to sneak him back into the league after that BS emails he had? Because I know y'all done brought John Gruden in and try to be the quarterback whisperer for Derek Carr. So like he getting the side eye.
That was definitely crazy. That was something that I was like, yo, like what are we doing? But Derek Carr being a very forgiving man of faith is somebody that they was like, okay, if he's somebody who's gonna still be cool with Gruden, is because he has that side to him. So I think that's where people are like, all right, we're just gonna let that go. We're gonna move forward, going with it. But I don't see John Gruden making any in-season appearances for the Saints at all. Not at all.
John Gruden, right?
Danny,
gotta relax. I know.
So you mentioned Brian Breezy last year on your defensive line, the kid from Clemson, and you said that the team feels confident in him. But do you feel confident he's going to stay on the field? Because dude's played 14 games in the last 3 years of college, and you guys are expecting him to make an impact where he can't be, where he plays just as much as Michael Thomas does. So what's your confidence level of him taking over as a pass rusher where he can't stay on the field? And history showing that.
That was college. We've had people that have had injury history in college and then been able to be better in the pros. So we hope to see him be better in the pros. Like I said, I like the potential that we see and what we're hearing in the comparisons from other players in camp. So just got to wait and see.
And I just looked at the Saints depth chart. I didn't realize they got Foskey as well. I'm not mad at y'all edge rotation with Peyton Turner. You didn't name him, but I actually Peyton Turner. He seems like a decent dude, a rotation piece. Just from the plays he made against Carolina last year, I remember that vividly. But I didn't realize they drafted Foskey as well. So y'all got some young dudes mixed in there. too. So
for sure, yeah.
it may be decent up front on the D line. I mean, like I said, I agree. I think our defense will be pretty solid, for sure. They always have a decent amount of speed and they play hard under Allen. But like I said, my question is just him being that head guy in charge. You know what I'm saying? So I guess offensively, my question is, how big of an impact will those games that Alvin Kamara misses, like how will that weigh? Because I mean, you tell me, I may be wrong, but from what I understand, the offensive line isn't what it used to be. Obviously, it used to be one of the most dominant groups in the league, but now with some transition, obviously with Armstead gone, and obviously still got Ramczyk and stuff like that. But how confident are you in the running game and stuff like that with Alvin Kamara? Because we know he's a big piece of the passing game as well. We saw that in preseason that he was running game, passing game. He's been just a big part of that offense in general. So how concerned are you with him missing those games early on?
Actually, I'm not too concerned because we do have Kendre Miller, we have Jamal Williams. So we're going to be able to fill that hole as good as you can for 3 games. And because he takes those 3 games off, we know how much punishment running backs take. So I think we'll be able to use him better going forward because of that.
Yeah.
All right, question from the comments from Ryan. How much Kamara's suspension is going to affect the offense?
Well, yeah, we just answered that one. So I think that it's not going to affect it too much. And then once he does come back, we'll be able to use it in a major way. And like Kamara's a major player, but he didn't play well last year. But they said it was something about him as far as his body and the way that his muscles were being developed in his legs that weren't right. It's a crazy story you got to check out. But they said that they got that fixed now. He should be good to go. And he's looked great in the preseason, like you mentioned. So I can't wait to see him come back in week 4. I'm mad he won't be there for week 2 against the Panthers. I'm so mad about that.
I ain't tripping. What happened to his muscles? I remember seeing him carrying like some big old, like, I don't even know what you call it, like a yoke, I guess, with weights on a couple years ago when he was in the offseason and stuff. So what was going on with that? I mean, to me, his legs are probably the best part of his game because he got some of the best balance in the league. Like one of the hardest dudes to tackle.
Exactly.
What
So they were
happened?
saying, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but they were saying that he had too much muscle on the right side compared to the left. So that was what's causing injuries to his legs. So they said they balanced that out and he should be healthier like he was for the beginning of his career because of that.
Interesting.
Right. Any more questions? All right.
So you bounced that man like a car tire. Got you. Okay.
All right. Let's get to the even more fun part of the show. And I actually do a little bit different this time with the NFC South predictions. I let us, the host, go first, and let the guests end it off because I know it's gonna be some trash talk. So I let y'all have hit it. Then, so I go to orders on the screen: me, Sheedy, Trevor, Skylar, followed by 2, Danny, Aaron, then Damian. So my prediction, first up, y'all did convince me, Panthers fans, to go ahead and put y'all first. I had the Saints number 1, but I was a huge believer in Bryce. I actually talked Took into him. Not saying Took never not like Bryce, but you were more of a CJ Stroud guy. And I was like,
and I can't believe that was a time, right? I can't believe that was a time. I
Yep, I'm a big believer in them. Y'all defense is set. Of course, the weapons are questionable, but I mean, Bryce Young, I am a big believer, so I think he can pull it off. I got the Saints second. That defense, along with Derek Carr having his best defense he's ever had, definitely makes a difference. I just don't trust like the health of Michael Thomas. I need to see it to believe it. I'm not taking him on fantasy ever again until he actually returns to his Snake Main days. But I do have the Saints second and potential playoff contender as well. Third, I have the Falcons coming in. I do believe in everything y'all have except Desmond Ridder. So he's going to show me something. But everything y'all got around him, I believe in. It's just I need to see it from him. And this is his kind of make or break year anyway. So that's the real question coming around, y'all. Bucks I got last. They still got the talent. Baker Mayfield could prove was wrong, but I believe in the other 3 teams a lot more than I believe in Baker Mayfield at this point. So that's my order. Cheaty.
Yeah, we're gonna stay in the basement, fellas. Buccaneers will be the last place team here. But I'll take it to the top. Give me the New Orleans Buckeyes to win the division for sure. Too many Buckeyes not to do that well. And then in second place, I got the Panthers. And then third, I got the Falcons. I feel like I just need more from a receiver and a quarterback type connection, or just something greater than 800 plus yards. And I know y'all can do that. Once that happens, I think y'all might be ready to take over a little bit more. But only one team is getting the playoff, and that'll be the Saints. I'm sorry, no one else is contending.
Yeah, for me, the magic number for this division is the number 9. I think 9 wins this division. And that will go to the New Orleans Saints, in my opinion. The Panthers will be right there, maybe a half a game out or full game out. I think that their defense and everything is set. I do like the addition of Jim Caldwell to help coach their defense. But until we all believe in Bryce Young, we've seen it in college. We've seen it a little bit in preseason, but last time I talked preseason is preseason, so we got to see how he looks there. I have the Falcons coming in at 3rd. I just need to see a little bit more from Desmond Ridder, unfortunately, but I do like where they're heading. I do like the pick of Bijan Robinson and things of that nature, so I do like the come up for them. And then I have the Bucs in the basement. Tom Brady curse. Teams that lose Tom Brady eventually fall completely off a cliff, and I don't see anything different here. So that's my order: Saints, Panthers, Falcons, and Bucs.
Yeah, it's hard to ignore that order. I'm always a big proponent of when I do rankings, who has the better quarterback, who has the better coach. And in this division, that does not matter clearly. But I still think at the end of the day that the Saints will have the better quarterback just for next season. So because I believe in that, and because I still think that the Saints historically are going to have a pretty good defense, I'll go Saints 1. The Panthers will be right there, right behind them. I love me some Bryce Young. Their defense is legit. It's just I'm concerned about that offensive line, and I'm concerned about who he's throwing the ball to. So because that's a huge question mark for me. They're at 2. I think I go Atlanta 3. Again, like what they've done defensively, but still big questions about the quarterback, and Atlanta just were always Atlanta. So I'll put them at 3, and then I'll put Tampa Bay at 4 because they got Baker Mayfield.
So of course I'm going Panthers. I mean, come on now. I mean, we at a point now, like we literally had the number 1 pick. We literally could have picked anybody, any quarterback, and we went with him, with Bryce Young. But we wasn't the worst team in the NFL. Like we could have been talking about a whole different thing if DJ Moore didn't take off his helmet, bro. Like just being dead ass. But it is what it is. That's in the past. I expect my Panthers to win. You said it, Trevor, the number 9 for 9. That's I think is gonna get us the first round. I do have the Saints right after us, who I think could possibly be in the playoffs as well. Number 3, give me Tampa Bay.
Of course, he a Baker fan, man. Of course,
he's the only Baker fan on this podcast, so of course
they formerly played. They formerly slowed down for his team.
Exactly.
It's not even Baker, man. It's not even Baker. It's the fact that honestly, if you ask me like who got the best weapons overall in the NFC South offensively, it would be the Bucs outside of Baker. So I mean, I'm saying Baker could do better than Riller, and I think that, like I told you, the Falcons they're gonna be trying to figure out how to get the top pick next season. I ain't worried about them. Falcons number 4.
Danny,
actually, I have Atlanta winning the division. I think Atlanta and New Orleans.
Let's go. Let's go.
But
Chaos.
I think Atlanta. I think Atlanta and New Orleans will be with the same record. I think that's what's going to happen. But I think Atlanta will get the tiebreaker and win the division only because of tiebreaker purposes. I think Tampa is actually better than Carolina.
Of course,
what everybody fails to realize is rookie quarterbacks don't win in the NFL. They don't. Look at the last seven. Only rookie quarterbacks that were there. Brock Purdy is a different example because the 49ers defense was elite all last season. They may have not thrown the football. There's always an exception to every rule. But for every, Brock Purdy, there's Zach Wilson. There's Justin Fields. Guys who struggled their rookie year. It's a brand new offensive system. And the one thing Carolina did not do for their rookie quarterback was get somebody dependable that can make a play down the field. You mentioned Hayden Hurst. How many teams has Hayden Hurst played for? Because he's already played in Atlanta once, and they got rid of him already.
May have been a mistake.
How many mistakes has he been made? Baltimore got rid of him too, and they would rather play a backup running back at tight end before they got rid of Hayden Hurst. Hurst is not an answer. So no, I have Tampa third, I have Carolina last, but here's the difference with Carolina being in last place. Carolina has the biggest upside in the division because they have the youngest quarterback and probably the most talented quarterback in the division. I think Carolina's going to be there, but I think it's just 1 year away. I think they're 1 year away. So it's Falcons by tiebreaker, Saints, Bucks, Panthers.
Wow.
I love it. I love it. Chaos. Bring it.
I love the smoke.
I guess just to piggyback, Hayden Hurst, I think it's more about opportunity than him just being trash because he was never the primary weapon at tight end. They had Mark Andrews. Atlanta had who else they had? They brought in Pitts when he was there. Even in Cincinnati, he's the fourth option on an all-star offense. He's gonna be he's gonna get a lot of targets. I mean, because his drop percentage is only like 3%. He just doesn't get targets. You know what I'm saying? He's a dependable target. He just hasn't been utilized, and we don't have that many weapons. He's going to be utilized in our offense. That's just my little nugget on Hurst. However, to my prediction, I got to go with Carolina, man. I mean, everybody doing the homer thing, I'll do that. I think things have to go right. There's a lot of things that have to go right. They don't have the room for error as other teams in the division. And we just going off of quarterback play. I got to say that they're up there. Our Derek Carr obviously has the pedigree and the experience, so he is the better quarterback. But I just have a little bit of issues with their head coach and that combination of them two in close games when they play. What comes down with the decision making from the head coach? We've seen Derek Carr last year make some bonehead decisions down the stretch as well. So I just think this division is going to be tight between Carolina and New Orleans, and I just think a game or two could swing that, and I think they could lose a game or two just based off of coaching alone or quarterback making a bonehead decision down the stretch. Now, Carolina, like I said, the quarterback thing, you left off Mac Jones. Mac Jones went to the playoff as a rookie. If you have a good team around you, they can support you. They didn't have any receivers pretty much. There was a game he only threw the ball 3 times in one game, and they still won that game. They went to the playoffs his rookie year. So we've seen it more recent than you want to. You can ignore it, but it still happened. Regardless, I think that the Panthers, health is going to have to be a big thing. I'm confident in the offensive line. I'm confident in them being able to lean on that running game and figure things out eventually. The first 2 games are going to tell me a lot about the season because, like I said, those division matchups are going to be everything. Third, I have the Falcons, and then fourth, I have the Bucks. The Falcons, you have questions at pass rush on the edges, and you have questions at quarterback. That's just 2 things I can't really feel comfortable about. In terms of that's 2 big parts of the game of football right now. And the Bucks, I think the wheels will fall off with that quarterback situation. We'll see what happens. They do have the weapons. Their defense should be decent. They have some names there, but I just think there's going to be too many moving parts, and a lot of drama comes with Baker Mayfield. A lot of the scrutiny and the stuff. It's not just him, and I'm not even a Baker hater, but there's just a lot of questions and scrutiny that comes with having him as your quarterback. And it can derail a team. And for better or for worse, the attention comes with Baker. So I just got them at the bottom. But Panthers, Saints, Falcons, Bucks.
Okay. Well, you know who I'm going with. Going with the Saints. And it's not just a homer prediction. Like, we have the best team in the division. You look at the defense, you look at the quarterback. We have the best team. So Saints. Second place, I'm going with the Panthers. I do believe in that defense to be able to do enough to win those games for them to where they can stay in contention but not make the playoffs. Third, I'm going with the Falcons, and fourth, I'm going with the Bucks because I can't trust Baker Mayfield to do more than anything past fourth place.
And that's a like gets. Oh man, dope. Hey, appreciate y'all for the layouts. Appreciate all the comments. I want to make sure I got everybody. I want to make sure I got everybody's name for the comments, man. Shout out to Ryan. Of course, I got Ryan tuning in every week. C Wood been tuning in every week as well. TJ, my guy, hilarious. What's hilarious comment?
Yeah, I don't know who cousin that is, but he can come back. Or she.
He's welcome.
Hilarious.
He's welcome back anytime.
Of course, Mr. T Money, shout out to you, man. Zach, the sad Patriots fan who came on a couple weeks ago, man. Shout out to my guy, Zach.
The sad Patriots fan is funny. That's funny. What a tagline.
Yes,
Hey, I did bet him that all the teams in the NFC South gonna have better records than the Patriots next season. I did tell him that,
Sheesh.
and I believe that.
Sheesh.
I think overall the division not gonna be as bad as people want to. It's not gonna be as bad as last year. I think it's gonna be a lot more competitive as far as the whole NFL landscape, not just amongst each other, but from that perspective, I think people just kind of down on the division because of last year. But I don't think it's gonna be that bad. I think a lot of things went bad for every franchise in the division last year, and I think every team has made some improvements to key spots to the point that you should see improvement across the board. It'll be interesting to see.
And all four of y'all wasn't like everybody was close to 500. It was like 3 teams finished 7-10. Like it wasn't like you had some 4-13 teams, 5-12. Everybody was like literally just a one game or two from literally 500. So yeah, y'all literally the whole division is right there. Yo. Just speaking the facts, man. But shout out to Kyle Nash. I know Jacksonville Jaguars guy, man. Shout out to my guy Kyle, Jamal Darby, and James Manny Robson. Appreciate all y'all for tuning in. But to be in the show, I guess to shout out and let everyone know where to follow you at. So start with Damian, then Aaron, then Danny.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you guys for having me on. You can follow me at The Real Deal WDA. That's on all social media platforms. My podcast is called The Real Deal with Damian Adams, and I'm also a writer for Burn City Sports. So if you are a Phoenix sports fan, go ahead and check out Burn City Sports for all things Phoenix sports. And our son's podcast will be coming very, very soon.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you guys having me. You can find me on Twitter at Dunk On Demand, on all social media at Dunk On Demand. YouTube, I'm at UB Sports Talk, UB Sports Talk. All things Panthers. I'll get into more NFL stuff once the season starts as well. I'll probably be reaching out to you guys for some collaborations because we got the matchups early on in the year. So y'all keep y'all Twitter DMs open. I will be reaching out.
Absolutely.
And so, Shark guys, I appreciate you having me on. It's a long time coming, but it's always been a pleasure. So you can follow me at Danny DANNY 3 Thompson on Twitter. You can follow my work at the 3pointconversion.com. Also, which is my Substack, which is called The Wonderful World of Data, a complete Substack or a website devoted to basketball analytics, teaching everybody how analytics works. It's just a number. It actually has real meaning and value to it. Also, I have an NFL preview column for the NFC North that's out next week. So check that out at 3pointconversion.com and all your favorite radio media outlets. So it's been a pleasure, fellas.
Yeah, definitely, man. Appreciate all y'all. Danny, great writer, man, especially getting drafted to analytics. I learned some stuff writing these things about NBA. So 3 the Hardaway crew, she and Took. Definitely check out.
I might need to take part in it myself because gotta get my knowledge up.
Right. And also what Ryan just said, Damian boxing. Yeah. That's
Thank you, sir.
Oh yeah, 100.
Yeah.
Sir.
He's a boxing boy. Like nothing. And Mr. T Money, I definitely subscribe to you. Soon we end the show. I find your content, man. Appreciate you subscribing, man.
Shout out T Money, man. My guy.
Definitely, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate everyone. As always, remember you can follow us on Twitter or X, at TikTok, IG, and Facebook at LBR_media. Subscribe and watch on YouTube, and you can watch the shows live on Sundays at Let's Be Real Media. Also, listen on the podcast platforms if you prefer audio at Let's Be Real Sports. Actually, on Spotify, still shows video as well. Since Spotify they show video and audio now these days, so the video will be available on there as well. And support the other podcasts on network. 3 the Hardaway with the gentleman above, Sheedy and Took, along with Savage. They had a show earlier today about the NBA. And Gene's report, where I got Gene's from last week. If you saw the show
just leave it at that. Just leave it at that.
Hey,
if you watched listen last week, you know what we talking about. We're just gonna leave it at that.
Hilarious, man. And remember, man, support us by checking out sign up for sports books at signupexpert.com/LBR with our sponsor at BetStamp. And as always, you can follow me on Twitter at the one DAONE_P Shark.
@_Scarlito. That still ain't changed, my friends.
I'm still at the Art of Trevor, and of is still a preposition. So yeah.
It's really shitty, man. And before I go, thoughts and prayers to those 3 African American families who were gunned down in Jacksonville for racism, man. It's still alive, y'all. We're not concealing it. We need to start fighting back.
No doubt.
No doubt.
No doubt.
think Took froze.
Yeah, too.
Yeah, he froze. Y'all know, y'all can probably I got
That's
it.
That's a face though.
Found out for Took, man. It tell Shakir. And also one more thing.
That's that face gonna make when Bryce Young get sacked for the 6th time in Week 1 in Atlanta.
It took them 10 weeks to get the 6 sacks last year. He talking about one game. Let's be for real.
6 times in one game. That's tough.
Hey, Frank Wright started against the Falcons in Atlanta and they lost. I think it's gonna happen again in 2 weeks. Well, no. Then don't worry. When they lose, I'll be in your mentions the whole day next Sunday. All in your mentions.
I'll be drunk at the game, so I may not see it right away.
That's okay. I keep receipts. Don't worry.
Man, definitely, man. Appreciate y'all again. Also, one last comment, my guy. He said, "Great show, Mel from Purdy, man. Appreciate you tuning in." He'll be on next week. For our NFC West episode,
is he coming on the Rams?
Yes, sir. He'll be on with us next week.
That nigga might need a pat on the back. He might need a pat on the back before he
might need a hug too, because the ghost formerly known as Matt Stafford. Yeah, that's
yeah. If we get to it, he'll be all right. But until next time, peace.